Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stacking the Box. It's Iain MacMillan here. I'm joined at the start of the show by Mike Luciano. I promise this wasn't planned, but this is the perfect guy to have on for the show. For the first half of it, Sterling Holmes will be joining me in the second half, but Mike, obviously a big Jets fan after last night's game. I'm excited to talk to him about this past week. A lot of storylines in the NFL after week one that we got to get through, and then we're going to end the show. Hopefully Sterling will be here by that point to preview week two a little bit. So Mike, we are going to talk about the Jets, but really quick, just how do you feel right now?
I'm going to steal a line that I had from the Jet Press podcast when we went live after. Imagine that, you're finally getting married and it's your great things happening in your wedding day. And then somebody pulls out a revolver and shoots your uncle. And it ruins the mood. That's what happened in front of 80,000 people and millions watching live. Four plays. Four plays. He didn't have a great drive and throw a touchdown, and then it happened. 4 plays.
And yeah, it was tough. Obviously, I'm sure everyone who's watching this knows, but Aaron Rodgers, 4 plays in his career as the Jets, has suffered a season-ending torn Achilles. He's done for the year. We're going to talk about what's kind of next for the Jets. But before we get into the show here, quick word from DraftKings Sportsbook. They have upgraded their sign-up offer for a limited time. If you're a new user, you can receive $200 in bonus bets by following just 3 steps. Number 1, create an account. Number 2, make a deposit. Number 3, wager $5 or more on any sport. And whether your first wager wins or loses, you'll still receive the $200 in bonus bets. All you have to do is use the code STB. That stands for Stacking the Box, code STB when you sign up. The best part is using our code STB not only gets you the bonus, but it also supports the podcast. If you're considering signing up for DraftKings, use our code STB to maximize your first bets. This offer is available for new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer. And we will give out some picks at the end of the show. I will let you know if you tailed our picks last week, mine and Sterling's, you would have won some money because we did very well. I think between the two of us, I think we only lost one bet last week from the ones that we gave out on the show. So stick around. We'll give that out at the end of the show, but we do want to recap week one here a little bit, especially with all the storylines. We'll start, as we always do, with the biggest winners and losers from week one. Mike, why don't you start us off, because I still got to send out a tweet to let people know that we're live. So who is your biggest winner for NFL week one?
Well, it's very clearly Mike McDaniel, a guy who I've had my doubts about Tua Tagovailoa and just the Dolphins offense as a whole and what they could kind of be this year. I mean, Mike McDaniel emphatically shutting me up, especially against the Chargers team, where if you remember last year, they were the one team that gave Tua and that offense and Tyreek Hill a lot of problems. I think Tua was like 10 of 28 at one point in that game. That seemed like it was going to be his nemesis. And he put on, I'm not even exaggerating, one of the best week one offensive performances in NFL history. I mean, Tua Tagovailoa, that was the best game of his life. He couldn't miss. And part of that, too, is Mike McDaniel coming up with a lot of clever ways to get Tyreek Hill in single coverage and just let him use that speed and burn up the track. Big credit to Mike McDaniel, who now, considering the Rodgers injury and how shaky Josh Allen looked, and with teams like Cincinnati looking awful in week one and Kansas City showing they have holes, I don't think it's an exaggeration right now to say I think Miami, with 1 or 2 more strong weeks, could vault themselves into being a Super Bowl contender very easily.
Yes, and I believe Tua, you mentioned there, one of the greatest week one performances of all time. I believe I saw that it was the 3rd most passing yards in a week one performance. I think the only people who rank above him, I think Tom Brady in, I forget which year, one of Tom Brady's years, and ironically, a fellow Dolphins, Dan Marino, in 97. That's a guess, sometime in the 90s. So yeah, great performance by Tua Tagovailoa and the Dolphins. So I agree with you, Mike McDaniel, big winner in week one. My biggest winner is a guy who on the offensive rookie of the year odds has gone from 125 to 1 all the way to 21 to 1 in one single week. And that is the Rams receiver, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, Puka Nacua from BYU, who was a 5th round pick, I believe he was.
It's a sin he went that low. He was so good in college.
Yes, he did have some issues staying healthy in college, but when he played, he was very good. He went 177th overall from BYU to the LA Rams. Rams obviously have had some injury issues at wideout with Cooper Kupp, who was out for at least 4 weeks, and Puka Nacua shines in his NFL debut, hauls in 10 catches for 119 yards in his first game. So while all the eyes were on other rookies like Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, Jordan Addison, all the other plethora of rookies in the NFL, it's the 5th round pick out of BYU who shines the brightest, like I said, all the way up to 21-1 to win Offensive Rookie of the Year from 125-1, which is where he was preseason. I wish I sprinkled on that. So my biggest winner of the week, Rams rookie receiver Puka Nacua. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
I believe you are.
All right, good. That's a first. All right, Mike, your biggest loser of week 1 of the NFL.
It's got to be Ryan Tannehill in a year where the heat is really on. Malik Willis is ahead of Will Levis, showing that he's really improved, and Will Levis is still there, number 33 overall pick. I'd imagine at some point Will Levis is going to see some time with the Tennessee Titans. So they're letting Ryan Tannehill know, like, you're running out of road here, man. And then he goes week 1 against the Saints. That defense on the road against Derek Carr, who was playing pretty well, holds them to 16 points. Yep. You should win that game. Instead, they only end up with 15, all 5 of which were field goals, and Ryan Tannehill throws 3 interceptions. Any other quarterback performance, maybe outside of Daniel Jones in week 1, and Burrow wins that game for the Titans.
Yeah, I think it's
where I still think the Jaguars are the best team in the division. The Titans, I thought, were going to compete for a wild card spot because every year when he was healthy, Tannehill, they seemed to compete. It was when he got hurt, that's when they really fell apart. And then what do you know? Here comes Ryan Tannehill just stinking up the joint, and it makes you wonder, like, how much does he have left? Because he's older. I think he's 34. We might be seeing the last of Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, I was very low actually on the Titans this year because of Ryan Tannehill, and he kind of proved me right in week 1. I mean, they can't win games on defense and in a running game, not in today's day and age. You need a quarterback to at least make some throws, or at the very least not turn the ball over. But Ryan Tannehill, it looks like it's time to move on from him. So I agree with that for the biggest loser. My biggest loser of the week are Giants fans who went to the game on Sunday night, and myself who also went to the game. Not a Giants fan, but I went to the game. What an absolute disaster. In my life of a sports fan, I've never left a live sporting event early. I always think if you pay for the ticket, you should stay until the end. And I left halfway through the second quarter. It was that bad. Vibes were high. Queen Latifah national anthem, fireworks, lights were off, big American flag. Giants first 6-7 plays of the opening drive was electric. Giants fans were high-fiving, vibes were high, and then it started to downpour. And then they had a field goal blocked return for a touchdown. And then they had a fumble interception type play where the Cowboys returned for a touchdown. And before I knew it, I was sitting there in the soaking rain, and it was 26-0 for the Cowboys. They also ran out of ponchos, not enough ponchos for the fans there. So I waited in line for 10 minutes to buy a poncho, which apparently they were selling for $50. And then by the time I got to the front of the line, they were sold out. So no poncho for me. A nice lady who was selling beer gave me a clear garbage bag to put over my head. That worked for a little bit. I just ripped a hole in it to stick my face out. I ended up getting a little cocky, though, and I tried to rip myself armholes as well. And when I did that, the entire garbage bag just fell apart. So
yeah, it's a garbage bag. It's not designed for weather protection.
So yeah, I left halfway through the second quarter. It's 26-0. So that was a waste of money for anyone who went to the game. I do have an unbelievable amount of respect for any Giants fan who stayed at that game, because there were some to sit in the pouring rain and watch your team lose 40-0 and what might have been the biggest ass kicking in NFL history, and then just to sit there in misery and boo your team. I gotta respect those people.
The only other time I left really early in a game like that, I remember I was at a Yankees-Red Sox playoff game. I think it was 2018. And the Red Sox went up 11-1 in the fourth inning. I'm like, all right, I can't do this. If it's 11-1 in the fourth inning, I'm like, all right. So I get you. I feel you.
I think as a fan, if I was a Giants fan, I think you have to sit through it. I think you just have to take your lashing and just sit through it as a fan of the team. But me being a third-party viewer, a Falcons fan, I had no connection to either team. I think I'm allowed to leave early. But Last year I was at a Blue Jays game against the Angels. They lost 15-1, and I watched every pitch. I think as a fan of the team, I think you just got to sit there. Oh, we lost Mike. Mike, come back. So that was biggest winners and losers. Top story of the week, and maybe Mike might have left here on purpose, because the top story of the week is Aaron Rodgers hurt. What's going on at MetLife, the most cursed stadium of all time? Mike, I thought you might have left on purpose because we were just about to talk about the Jets.
I didn't even have any of my bars drop. I don't know what that was.
All right.
Maybe I have 30 tabs open. Maybe if I close some of that.
So you didn't leave on purpose because we're about to talk about the Jets.
I did not leave on purpose.
It seemed like a little bit there. MetLife was cursed after what happened to the Giants on Sunday night, and then what happened to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers 4 plays into his Jets debut after being the story of the offseason. That's all we heard about was Aaron Rodgers all offseason. 4 plays into it, tears his Achilles. Now the Jets do come back to win on a walk-off punt return touchdown in overtime. But Mike, can you even celebrate that win knowing that Aaron Rodgers is done for the season?
Well, no, because the season's over. Like, as much as I want to put a positive spin on it, I mean, we literally saw this exact same thing happen last year. It's just there's no Corey Davis and Elijah Moore, and there's Allen Lazard and Randall Cobb. That's the only difference. And they got Dalvin Cook, who's washed. So, I mean, and Breece Hall is going to be fine. I know people are trying to act like the offensive line's horrible. Like, it's better than people think it is. The Rodgers play wasn't like an indictment on the offensive line. It was just kind of a fluky thing where he landed weird and Leonard Floyd kind of landed on him awkwardly. Like, that wasn't some grand indictment of how bad the offense was. It's just one of those fluky plays. But I mean, this is cruel. That's the word I keep coming back to. This is cruel. After all that pomp and circumstance, then we're right back to square one. Same exact as last year. Well, this is a really good roster, and if Zach Wilson doesn't play like the worst quarterback in the league, Zach Wilson's going to kill this team. Look, he's been being told the same things for 3 years now from 2 different coaching staffs. If I took that Bills game and I contrasted it with some of the Bills games last year, and I said, all right, which one is from 2023 with a new staff and Aaron Rodgers, you would not be able to tell the difference. The exact same things. He's skipping screens. He's overthrowing. He's backpedaling. Remember that one play was 3rd and 10 on the 25, and he backpedaled and ended up in Jets territory because he just kept running backwards? That's what he is. If he hasn't understood these things after 3 years, he's not going to understand them. He just doesn't have the football capacity to do so. So, I'm seeing guys throw options out there for backup quarterbacks, and most of them are unrealistic because if you have a good backup quarterback, number one, you know the Jets are desperate and you can ask them for whatever they want. And number two, if you have a guy, like I saw the high-end backups mentioned, like Jacoby Brissett or
Matt Ryan.
Even Matt Ryan did not even try. I saw some people say Nick Foles. I'm like, all right, you guys.
Phillip Rivers.
Yeah, people did say Phillip Rivers. Like, it was that.
Bring
One
him
guy in the Jet Press stream said Ben DiNucci. That's how bad it was getting. But
okay, that's tough.
Yeah. If they have like a Brissett or a Minshew or something like that, they're not going to give it up for the Jets.
Complete side note, but I heard a rumor that if the 49ers beat the Eagles in the NFC Championship game with no quarterbacks last year, they were planning on signing Phillip Rivers to start for them in the Super Bowl. How bananas would that have been? I want the Jets to bring in one of the old guys, bring in Phillip Rivers, bring in Matt Ryan one more year. I want Matt Ryan. Obviously, I'm a Matt Ryan guy. He was my guy for 15 years. I would love to see Matt Ryan get one more chance. So, but I think you answered my question, which is, can the Jets win without Aaron Rodgers, with Zach Wilson? Is their defense good enough? Is their run game good enough? Do they have any chance to win with Zach Wilson?
Well, the defense has to give up. They gave up 16 points last night. That may not win them a lot of games. The defense gave up 3 points against New England and lost because Zach Wilson got 3, and then there was a punt return touchdown.
Right.
So sometimes 3 points is not good enough when you have Zach Wilson.
Right, because last year they had a top 3 defense in the NFL, second best scoring defense in the NFL, allowed only 18.6 points per game last season, and they still didn't make the playoffs.
7-10. Plus, look at the schedule. It'd be one thing if they had later in the year, the schedule gets easier. Next 5 games, Dallas at Dallas. Zach Wilson, I don't know if he's going to live through that game. New England, he has 8 picks in 4 games against New England. Then he plays the Chiefs. They're going to be pissed off after being 0-1 and Patrick Mahomes. Zach Wilson's not going to go shot for shot with Patrick Mahomes. Then you get Denver at Denver, which for all their faults, the defense is good. You get the altitude. Jets historically don't play well in Denver. Eagles, that'll be an ass kicking. And then the bye. So where's the win? Where's the win in that game?
What do you want the Jets to do? Do you want them to just ride it out with Zach Wilson, or do you want them to try to pick someone up?
Here are there are only 3 quarterbacks that I think are semi-realistic and could really offer the Jets a huge short-term upgrade with even a chance that maybe in 2024 something will happen. Because honestly, I think Rodgers, there's a good chance he's done. He's going to be 40, going on 41 next year off an Achilles tear. Yeah. I mean, I think that might be curtains for him. As much as it sucks and he didn't get to go on his own terms, you got to think that way. There are 3 guys that I think they should at least consider. Number 1 is the pie in the sky long shot. You got to call about Kyler Murray.
Oh, I thought you were going to. Okay.
No, I know. Right. Tom Brady.
I thought you were going to say Tom Brady.
Because if the Cardinals are all in on Caleb Williams, if they're in on this tank, and they don't want to have Kyler play for them, because if he gets injured, then there's a bunch of guaranteed money that triggers. Like, I know he's not going to play immediately, but at least give him a call and say, hey, we don't know if Rodgers is even going to be what he was in 2024. If we get Kyler, that can be a guy for a couple years. We've seen him be a Pro Bowl quarterback. You at least check in. It's unlikely. You at least check in.
All right.
Number 2, this guy is a backup that you could trade for right now. And my guy Justin on the Jet Press has been hammering this guy, and that's Jameis Winston. Where Jameis has... Jameis Winston right now is 5 times better than Zach Wilson will ever be.
Oh, that's 5 times? That's a bit of a stretch.
No,
there's a reason why Jameis Winston's the backup.
Fans will see now, like, all right, they think Zach Wilson's bad. Like, the level of how he can't operate, it will shock you. He has 18 touchdowns, I think, in 22 games passing in the NFL. Like now, 2023, 18 in 22 games with more picks than that. So that's preposterous. Jameis gives you strong arm, can pick up an offense quickly because he's bounced around a little bit. Big, strong guy, can move a little bit. He's not like a running quarterback, but he's definitely mobile and can escape from guys. He would give you a much better chance than Zach Wilson ever will. Plus, he's got a strong arm. Like, that's the one thing Wilson has going for him is the arm strength. Jameis has an equally strong arm.
Okay, number 3.
The free agent option, which is Carson Wentz.
Oh. Wouldn't you rather Matt Ryan or Phillip Rivers over
No, Carson Wentz is better. Are you kidding me? Carson Wentz, I compared him on the Jet Press to Nickelback as a band where
no. Kirk Cousins is the Nickelback of the NFL. Carson Wentz
I don't think Nickelback's an amazing band. But they're not, like, why are they the one everyone makes fun of?
Carson Wentz stinks.
27 touchdowns and 7 picks. He's a year removed from that. Zach Wilson will never do that in his career. Zach Wilson
last year he went 2-5, 11 touchdowns, 9 picks, and a QBR of 32.9.
QBR is a flimsy stat because I'm not sure about the grading thing about that. And also, too, I think like 3 or 4 of the picks came in one game, like near the end of the year when they were out of it because Heineke got hurt. Like, again, I'm not saying Wentz is going to be the next franchise quarterback, but it's a lot of the Jameis things. Big, strong arm, experienced guy, very mobile. And you know what? If guys are open, Carson Wentz will throw to an open guy. He won't run backwards 20 yards like Zach Wilson will.
Well, he'll throw it in his direction. Is it going to land in the receiver's hands, or is it going to land in the defender's hands, or is it going to land on the turf 5 yards before the receiver?
Carson Wentz, I believe, had like a 67% completion. Like, you get him in a system that he likes. He can operate at a pretty efficient level.
I would much rather Matt Ryan or Phillip Rivers.
Matt Ryan can't move. Phillip Rivers can't move.
Yeah.
And this offensive line, I know it's not as bad as people I think it is. They still got some holes. Zach Wilson can at least move.
So your top 3: Kyler Murray, Jameis Winston, Carson Wentz. If it's not one of those 3, just roll with Zach Wilson to see what happens.
I mean, would you go with Zach Wilson? Or let's say Matt Ryan staying in the booth, because I think that's probably likely. Yeah. What would you do?
I like the Kyler Murray option. I hadn't thought of that, but I think you might just need to kind of bite the bullet and roll with Zach Wilson. Maybe Aaron Rodgers will be on the sideline and can coach Zach Wilson up and maybe fix him.
Well, you can coach guys up. How do you coach a guy to say don't run backwards 30 yards? Don't overthrow a guy by 10 yards. Like, these are things that it's hard to coach, man. It's hard to coach.
It is.
At least your boy Ritter, for all his faults, sees a guy open short, he throws it to him.
Yeah, he had completed like 85% of passes. They're just all like 2-yard throws. Yeah, so
you can't do that.
It's going to be interesting what's going to happen with the Jets here in the coming weeks for sure. Who do they got this week? The Cowboys this week. The line went from 3.5 point favorites for the Cowboys now up to 7.5. So things are not looking good. Also, their Super Bowl odds went from 18-1 down to 50-1. So things aren't looking good in New York for either team. Bad time to be a New York sports fan, that's for sure. Let's move on to the next topic here, a new segment I'm introducing, Overreact or Underreact. I'm going to list off some scenarios, Mike. You let me know if you're overreacting or underreacting to what happened in week 1. Let's start off. Let's stay in the city of New York. Are you overreacting or underreacting to, I guess this is a two-part question. Number one, are the Cowboys as good as a 40-1 victory showed, or are the Giants as bad as a 40-0 victory or loss shows? Are you overreacting to that game or underreacting?
I'm going to probably just say underreact just because I don't think the Cowboys are that good, the Giants are that bad, but I don't want that to be said from the perspective of somebody who said, well, actually, Daniel Jones, it was all the offensive line's fault, or it was a couple things here or there. It's like, no, there are some serious concerns about the Giants, like more so than I thought there would be. So, yeah, I don't think it's time to go put the Giants in the Caleb Williams sweepstakes right now. No. And I don't think the Cowboys should go be, planning trips to Vegas for the Super Bowl.
Right.
But you can't look at a game that, I don't care how it arrived at a 40-0 score. You can't look at that game and not say there are some major, major, major issues structurally with the Giants and Daniel Jones.
There are some issues, but also I think in sports, sometimes I think, and rarely in a game, everything that can go bad goes bad. And I think that's what happened for the Giants. I mean, to have your opening kick, your first field goal be blocked, return for a touchdown, next possession, a ball is in Saquon Barkley's hands, and I don't even really remember what happened. It slipped out right into a Cowboys defender's hands.
The defender hit it with his helmet and popped it up, and
then he just waltzed in the end zone. I mean, those are things that are just more bad luck more than anything else. And then after that, it was just a downward spiral. It was pouring rain. It was a disaster. So yeah, I'm underreacting to that. I do have to say though, because I do think this was the biggest ass kicking in NFL history. The Athletic tweeted this out. No team has ever lost 40-0 or worse, lost the sack battle 7-0 or worse, lost the turnover 3-0 or worse, had a blocked field goal return for a touchdown, and threw a pick 6 in the same season. The Giants did that all in one game.
The only game I can remember being a worse ass kicking that I saw happen live was, I remember it was like a blizzard, and the Patriots were playing the Titans in the old AFL throwbacks. And they won like 59-0.
Yes. I remember that game as well. That's a legendary game. Wes Welker doing Snow Angels after scoring a touchdown.
I believe Kerry Collins had like 4 yards passing. I mean, that might be the only other one.
Up there.
And I believe Marty Schottenheimer, Bud Carson, when he left the Steelers and became the Browns head coach, his first game against Chuck Noll's old team, they beat him 51-0 in week 1. That's up there.
It's up there. All right, I think Sterling is back, and this actually might be a good time to bring him in because I do want to talk to him about some Chiefs issues from Thursday night. And that Thursday night football game feels like it was 3 weeks ago by now, but it was a week 1 game. There is Sterling himself. Mike, thank you for joining us. Do you have any final thoughts about any final comment about the Jets before we let you go, Mike?
Welcome to hell.
Yeah. All right, Mike.
Why did I think I could feel joy?
Yeah, I feel that.
What was I thinking? Silly me.
Are we talking about Mizzou football?
Yeah, pretty much the same.
We're talking about the Winnipeg Jets.
That's what we're talking about. All right, Mike, take care. Thanks for hopping on. Sterling, welcome to the show, my friend. What's going on?
Howdy. Just got done with a cool interview with Dan Marino. Went awesome. So fun talking to him. He's such a joy to talk to. Made sure I got a couple of Ace Ventura questions in there as well. He's He's doing a new Pepsi unretirement thing. Had to let him know that his acting chops probably came from Ace Ventura. And so it was really, really enjoyable talking to NFL Hall of Famer Dan Marino.
Beautiful. Dan Marino has already got a shout out on the show for Tua, now third all time in week 1 passing yards. And I believe first of all time or second all time is Dan Marino. So yeah, if you're actually listening to the audio version of this show, we're going to play that interview for you at the very end. So stay tuned for that. Sterling, you came on at the perfect time. We're doing a new segment, Overreact or Underreact. And I wanted to bring up the Chiefs receivers who, I don't know if I've seen a single performance by one player at the position of receiver as bad as Kadarius Toney had on opening night for the Chiefs. Are you overreacting or underreacting to the terrible performance, not just by him, but the entire Chiefs receiving core?
Oh man, good question. I think I overreacted in the moment, but I think there's an overreaction still going on right now. And I think it's time to pump the brakes just a little bit here. Kadarius Toney, just a few months ago, helped the Chiefs win a Super Bowl. He was a factor in the Super Bowl victory, right? So to all of a sudden say he's a bum, he's a bust, get him out of here, I think is a little bit like a Boston fan. Right, that's something that like the Boston Red Sox or the New York Yankees would say. Oh, he's a bum. Get him out of here.
What a shot at Boston fans. I mean, I agree with you. I'll support it, but
I mean, come on, not Patriots fans necessarily. I'm thinking more Red Sox and Yankees. Just
sure.
Come on now. But what I will say is it was a horrendous. Just absolutely horrendous performance by Kadarius Toney, especially. Sky Moore, quite frankly, was also horrendous, but he's not even getting thrown at the bus as much because Toney was that bad. If Toney played as a defensive back that game and just knocked every single pass down, the Chiefs win.
Yeah.
Think of that. If he literally knocked every single pass down, the Chiefs would have won that game. Not only that, he had an opportunity to bounce back. He had an opportunity to right the wrongs, to have this redemption arc throughout this game. And he looked like he did not want to be out there. That ball was thrown his way to get the Chiefs into field goal position, and he just alligator armed it. I almost wanted to say the lights were too bright, but again, he just performed well in a Super Bowl. I think I chalk this down to he was injured, didn't go through training camp, missed a lot of OTAs, the preseason games. Then he was thrown into action. He just was not right. He was not, even if he was fully healthy, he wasn't in game shape. And I think that was the biggest issue here. Sky Moore, I don't have that excuse for. Sky Moore, I don't know. I don't know if it's a case of you see Kadarius Toney do it, so then all of a sudden it just trickles down and all these younger players have the drops, have the yips. But it was just a horrendous performance by the Chiefs wide receivers. But I will say, I'm going to pump the brakes a little bit on this. I can't be someone who was so thrilled during training camp. I was there watching them during training camp, during the preseason. And then all of a sudden, after one bad game, say they're a bunch of busts. I can't go that far. I'm going to pump the brakes just a little bit.
I am glad you brought up Sky Moore because Kadarius Toney is getting the blunt of the blame here. But I agree with you. I thought I was actually almost just as disappointed in Sky Moore than I was with Toney. So I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. I agree. It's one game, but also I think it really showed how important it is to have Travis Kelce in that lineup as well.
And I will say just briefly, the entire talk of preseason was all these young guys. Now, I will say Rashee Rice had a drop, and then he bounced back with a touchdown, first touchdown in his NFL career. Great for him. But there was zero talk about MVS or Justin Watson, or should I say zero positive talk about those two.
Right.
Those were the Chiefs' two leading wide receivers, and quite frankly, they're the two best Chiefs receivers in that game. You saw why Justin Watson made this roster, back about all three spots, but he also drew a massive deep pass interference call using his veteran mindset to draw that. And then MVS is just consistent. You know what you're going to get with him. 2 receptions, 48 yards, get a deep ball, brings it in, had a huge catch. I mean, he got popped, but he still was able to hold on to the rock. Those two guys, those veterans are going to be massive as this Chiefs season goes along because you don't know with these young cats what they're going to bring to the table, game in and game out.
I agree. Let's move on to the next one. Over or underreact to the Bears' bad loss to the Packers. The line was basically set as at a pick'em. Sterling, we've talked about this Bears team, specifically Justin Fields, all offseason. One of the most bet-on players to win NFL MVP this year. Oh, he has DJ Moore now. He has a weapon. Oh, this Bears team is going to be good. Their win total was all the way up at 7.5 after winning only 3 games last year. And then they get just beat down by the Packers. Justin Fields goes 24 for 37 to only 216 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Are we overreacting or underreacting to the Bears week 1 performance?
I think underreacting. I think we need to react more. Maybe not you and me personally, because this is kind of what we thought the Bears were going to be. This is similar to what we thought Justin Fields was going to be. But I think the general public has given Justin Fields too much of a pass. I think they've just they've seen the fantasy football numbers and they've equated that to that's going to translate to NFL progress, NFL success.
Yeah.
And it's just not the case. I'm not saying Justin Fields, again, is give up on him. But my point here was, let's let him get to a top 15 quarterback first. Let's let him get to a top 20 quarterback first before we try putting money on him to win MVP. Let's see a nice progression. We know he's a great athletic player. We know he's a great runner. We know that there's at least some arm talent in him, but we've not seen any sort of consistency. And until we do, why were people saying he's going to be a top 5 quarterback this year? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think we live in a day and age where a lot of people evaluate players, especially quarterbacks, on fantasy points and highlights that are shown on social media. And Justin Fields has both of those. He scores fantasy points because he can run the ball, and he has had some electrifying plays that make great clips on social media. But when you sit down and watch a Bears game from start to finish, he's not that guy. I just really don't think he is. So, the Bears are who I thought they were.
We didn't let him off. We didn't let him off the hook.
We didn't let him, and we're not going to let him off the hook. Next up, should we overreact or underreact to the Bengals putting up just 3 points against the Cleveland Browns? I mean, you got to like this a little bit as a Chiefs guy. You guys have built a little bit of a rivalry with the Bengals. Talked a lot of trash this offseason. They score 3 points.
I say pump the brakes here, and this is coming from a Chiefs guy. I know Bengals fans were all in my mentions. They were talking about, Jawan Taylor. They were talking about, the Chiefs lost by 1 to the Detroit Lions. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take the high road here, okay?
Ooh.
I got respect for Joe Burrow. He's a great quarterback. I got respect for this Bengals team. They're a really good team. They did this last year. In the same instance that I'm giving Kadarius Toney a little bit of slack, I'm going to give Joe Burrow some slack as well. He's been injured. Training camp, preseason. He hasn't had a full workload. He is a slow starter. It's like baseball players that don't get hot until the weather warms up. Joe Burrow doesn't get good until the weather cools down. That's what we've seen with him. And so with Joe Burrow, I have to give him some sort of a reprieve here. He's been too good in his NFL career to all of a sudden say, yeah, he fell off a cliff, or this injury is going to hinder him, or this is who he actually was and he's been getting lucky now. Joe Burrow is a damn good quarterback. Okay, Joe Burrow was injured. It was very rainy. The weather got in his way. I don't know if he trusted that knee or the injury based on the weather. Doesn't matter. They'll bounce back. They started off 2-2 last year, if I'm not mistaken, the Bengals. And then what happened? Yeah, they were damn good again. I will say, give the Browns a lot of credit, though. Deshaun Watson didn't play a great game, but he played better than Joe Burrow. The Browns had a better game plan, and their defense, I think, is legitimately good. Myles Garrett was all over the place. So I want to give the Browns some credit, more so than I want to take the Bengals and say that all of a sudden they're not contenders anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I think we saw this last year, as you mentioned, when Joe Burrow missed the preseason with appendicitis. He started off slow and he figured things out as the season went on. Probably a similar thing now. He's a guy who probably needs to play in the preseason and get warmed up a little bit. So I agree. I'm going to underreact to that Bengals week 1 performance, but I'm also not going to be backing them or betting on them until I do see them turn things around. Or should we overreact or underreact to Tua Tagovailoa's week 1 performance? He is now all the way up to being the co-favorite at some places to win NFL MVP after just 1 week alongside Patrick Mahomes. As we mentioned a couple times, he threw the 3rd most passing yards in a week 1 game. Only Dan Marino and Tom Brady have thrown more passing yards in a single week 1 game. Should we overreact or underreact to that performance?
I think the bettors are overreacting based on co-favorite to win MVP. I think it's a little bit asinine. But I think people are underreacting to how good he has been when healthy in this Miami Dolphins offense. I don't care what your thoughts are on Tua if he's a game manager. I don't care if you think he's not as talented as Justin Herbert. Again, I don't think he's as talented as Justin Herbert. But was Tom Brady as talented as Aaron Rodgers? Who had more success? It was Tom Brady. Sometimes your team, your weapons around you can make a world of difference. Sometimes the scheme, just how you play, take care of the ball. Get your ball into the playmaker's hands at the right moment, like Tyreek Hill. Tua Tagovailoa has been really good in that offense when he's been healthy. So I think the majority of fans are underreacting to how talented he is, but I think bettors are overreacting.
I think we might need to roll back some tape on us talking about Tua, because I have a memory of when we were power ranking positions and I had Tua in the top 5 and you saying there was no way he was a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. Am I remembering that incorrectly?
Hey, I say things sometimes that are wrong.
Wow.
No,
That's a quick turnaround.
Can I say this? I don't think he's a top 5 talented quarterback in the NFL. Like, I don't know if he moves the needle as much, again, as a Herbert or a Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Like, I don't know if he's as talented as those guys, but how he fits the Miami Dolphins offense is perfect. He works so well in the confines of that offense. He doesn't try and do too much. He gets the ball out quick to his wide receivers so they can make a play with Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. He is almost perfect. Maybe he is perfect for that offense. Like, I love Josh Allen, but Josh Allen might get too greedy. Josh Allen might try too hard to make something happen. Tua Tagovailoa doesn't do that. He understands that offense. He understands that team and what they need of him. I got to give Tua Tagovailoa a ton of credit here.
Yeah, I've been a Tua defender. Amongst all quarterbacks who played 10 games last year, he had the best QBR. He was third in quarterback rating behind, I think, only Mahomes and Josh Allen. I think it was the 2 guys ahead of him. I'm a Tua defender, and I feel a little bit vindicated after week 1. But obviously, the big question with Tua now is, can he stay healthy? Because after suffering the serious concussions he did last year, all it takes is one bad hit. You never really fully recover from concussions. You're usually more susceptible to them the more you get. One bad hit and he could be out for the year. And at this point, if he gets another bad one, that could be it for his career. So I hope he stays healthy, because it's fun to watch this Dolphins offense when he's at quarterback. The final overreact or underreact, you brought up Josh Allen, who bad performance last night. Do we overreact or should we underreact to that performance? A lot of turnovers. Aaron Rodgers went down 4 plays into the game. You would think the Bills were going to run away with it. At one point, I saw the Bills were 14.5-point live favorites. They go on to lose the game in overtime on a walk-off punt return. Should we overreact or underreact to that Josh Allen performance?
I think we should react more. And this is from a staunch Josh Allen supporter. I was a huge fan. I hitched my wagon to him when he was drafted. When he was at Wyoming, I said, watch out for Josh Allen. This guy's going to be a stud. Took a while. And then he was a stud. I never gave up on him. But this looks like rookie Josh Allen. He's so talented, but he gets in his dome. I mean, he gets in his head. And I get the Jets defense was phenomenal. I want to give a ton of credit to the Jets defense, by the way.
Yes.
Quincy and Quinnen Williams, which first off, how cool that the brothers were everywhere. Was it Whitehead on defense? 3 interceptions. I mean, he was reading Josh Allen's eyes. Gabe Davis, I got to give some sort of blame to as well. That was a horrendous route, man. He didn't even try. That was brutal. But Josh Allen is way too talented to keep having 2-3 games a year like this. I get it. It's week 1. It's not the playoffs. I understand this. But Josh Allen, I kept saying last year, he was injured. Wait till he gets healthy. He's going to bounce back to the Josh Allen he was pre-elbow injury. Yeah, he didn't. He made spectacular plays in this game. He also made plays that you're sitting here going, there's zero reason to even try and force the ball there. Stop it. For everything that Josh Allen is and Tua Tagovailoa isn't, everything Tua is, Josh Allen isn't. You know what I'm saying? Tua is he's the smart player, plays within the confines. Josh Allen, he tries to play NFL Street. You remember that 05 back on PS2? That was Josh Allen last night. He tried to do too much.
Nick Wright tweeted this out. Since week 1 of 2022, Josh Allen has played 19 games. In that time span, he has 20 interceptions and 17 fumbles. So that's 37 picks/fumbles in 19 games, averaging almost exactly 2 picks fumbles a game. That's tough. You can't win consistently when you're turning the ball over that much. He's got to fix it. But that's the thing. If he just fixes that issue and he just stops turning the ball over, he's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL.
What I will say, and this is alarming, Brian Dable, when he was there, fixed that issue. When
Yes.
Brian Dable left, injury related or not for Josh Allen, this has been the trend. He goes back to his time when he was a rookie. And if you are a Josh Allen fan, a Buffalo Bills fan, this has to be alarming, because I wonder if Brian Dable was that secret sauce, that special guy that kept him from these boneheaded plays, because ever since he left, they've been brought back up.
Great point. Let's move on to, let's quickly preview some of the biggest games. I think I put in 5 games here. Just want to get a quick preview for each of them. I think these are probably the top 5 games of the week here. Starting off with the Thursday night game. Vikings against Eagles, 7-point spread all the way up at a touchdown, over under 48.5. Vikings obviously coming off an upset loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Eagles were in danger of losing to the Patriots, but they held on at the end, winning and covering against the Patriots. What do you think of this Thursday night football game?
Man, it's going to be a damn good game. I also like 2 Thursday night football games. Isn't there 2 Thursday night football games this week?
No, there's 2 Monday night games.
2 Monday night games. I like that. I like having multiple games on a given day. That way, if one's a blowout, you can at least turn to the other one. I feel like 7's a little bit generous for the Eagles. I would take the Vikings with the points. Kirk Cousins actually played pretty darn well in that game, but is that the most Kirk Cousins box score you've ever seen? 344 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Oh, yeah, and only put up 17 points as a team. They're a conundrum. But I do think Kirk Cousins, the Vikings, they're better than being 7-point underdogs, even on the road against the cream of the crop of the NFC.
Yeah, I like the Vikings and the points in that one. Week 1 was one of the Vikings Week 1 game was probably the most ironic game of all of Week 1, because last year the story of the Vikings were they were like 11-0 in 1-score games. They squeaked out all these games. They would get outplayed in games, but then still find ways to win them. And then all those things the Buccaneers did against them. The Vikings got Vikinged. You say there's regression to the mean with those kinds of stats, and then week 1 of the next season, that's exactly what we saw. They lose a close 1-score game. Obviously, this Thursday night football game is a primetime game. Kirk Cousins historically has not done well in primetime games. As Hunter brings up, not a day game. I will be betting on the Vikings, but it is making me nervous betting on Kirk Cousins in primetime. We will see how that goes.
Yeah.
Next up, your Chiefs against the Jaguars. I think this might be the game I'm excited for the most in the NFL this season. Chiefs need to bounce back after their week 1 loss. The Jaguars dismantled the Colts. 3-point spread is at 2.5 yesterday morning. Went up to the magic number of 3. Jaguars 3-point underdogs at home, over under 51. How do you feel about the Chiefs? Is Travis Kelce going to return to the lineup? Can they bounce back after losing to the Lions?
Well, Chris Jones will be back, because Chris Jones and the Chiefs, they've agreed now on this 1-year deal. But I will point out, how much will he play in this one? That remains to be seen. Again, I've said it time and time again, so I know I'm a broken record here. Game shape and great shape are 2 different things. Chris Jones is in great shape, but we'll see how that translates to the actual game. Travis Kelce is still up in the air. You know, we've heard that he's been progressing nicely, but what does that actually mean? What does that mean? We are still on the out. We have no idea when it comes to Travis Kelce. I like the Chiefs in this game. I guess 3 points is a tough line. I don't know if I want to take or actually bet on this game. I've always been a huge fan of Jacksonville and Doug Peterson in particular. I think he's a damn good head coach. I think Travis Etienne is going to give the Chiefs some fits, just running the football and how explosive he is. But what I will say is the Chiefs defense played great without Chris Jones last week. It wasn't this massive drop-off. They gave up 14 points. 14 points. So I think the Chiefs win, but I wouldn't bet on this game.
Yeah, I'm going to back the Jaguars in this one. If the line was still at 2.5, I was going to take the over, but it snuck up to that magic number of 3, a full field goal, so I'm going to take the Jaguars. But very exciting game. I don't really have strong feelings one way or the other in this one. I'm just high on the Jaguars. I was high on them heading into the season. They looked really good in week 1 for the most part after a bit of a slow start, so I'm just going to keep riding them. AFC North battle, Ravens, Bengals. Bengals 3.5-point favorites at home after the stinker they put up against the Browns, over under 46. Do you like the Bengals?
No, I do not like the Bengals. I love the Ravens in this game. Give me the points easily. Lamar Jackson didn't play great his first game back, but you saw a connection that he had with Zay Flowers. I think that's going to grow. Just as the season progresses, I expect some big things from Lamar Jackson this year. So I'm going to go ahead and say I do not like the Bengals with the 3.5 points at home, especially as you mentioned, that half point is a huge deal breaker for me. Again, the Bengals will be fine. But week 2, that layover, that hangover, if you will, still might be in effect.
Yeah. I need to see the Bengals have a good offense performance before I can bet on them, especially laying 3.5 points against a divisional opponent. I picked the Ravens to win the AFC North before the season started. Kind of hard to take too much away from them because they kind of did what they should have done against the Texans and kind of beat them handedly. So this will be the first true test for them. So it'll be interesting to see how they perform. But yeah, like the Ravens in that one. Sunday Night Football, Dolphins-Patriots, despite the strong performance by the Dolphins in week 1, still only 2.5-point favorites at New England for Sunday Night Football. Does Mac Jones and the Patriots offense, do they have enough weapons to keep up with Tua, Tyreek Hill, and the rest of the Dolphins offense? I say no.
Yeah, I say no either. I actually love taking Tua Tagovailoa in the Dolphins this game. I don't think the Patriots have much of a chance. I don't believe in Mac Jones. I know they had a fun little comeback, right? They made that game close. That ain't happening again. There's just not enough talent on the Patriots. I love Bill Belichick. Their defense is fine, but until they get legit wide receivers, weapons, and a quarterback, I just don't see how they can keep up with any team.
I agree. That to me is a no-brainer. You got to take the Dolphins. Browns Steelers. So there's 2 Monday Night Football games. The first one is a stinker. I'll be watching it for the first hour while it's the only one on. It's the Panthers and the Saints. I mean, they are 2 of my least favorite teams in the NFL. I don't care. I hope they both play to a draw, and I don't know. I just hope it's a disaster of a game. The second game, the final game for week 2, I think is fairly interesting, though. The Browns against the Steelers. 2 AFC North matchups this week. Browns coming off a big win against the Bengals. Steelers trying to bounce back after getting embarrassed by the 49ers. Steelers 2-point home underdogs, over under 40.5. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is tough. Part of me thinks, how are the Browns favored? Part of me is thinking that, but also I saw what they did in week 1. I don't know if this is an overreaction to what the Browns did and the dismantling of the Bengals and how the Steelers just did not look good. But part of me thinks this Steelers team is so talented. They bounce back. Mike Tomlin's a damn good head coach. I see him bouncing back. My one concern is Kenny Pickett can get a little free with the ball, right? He can make some mistakes. This Browns defense is electric. They're not the Jets, but they're really, really good. Do they force Kenny Pickett into a brutal day, 2-3 interceptions? If that's the case, Browns roll. I almost want to go with the Steelers, though, because I do think and believe in the Steelers team overall, as well as Mike Tomlin.
Yes, I agree. I'm going to go with the Steelers. My motto for week 2 is to underreact everything that happened in week 1. So I'm not going to put too much stock into what happened for both these teams in week 1, but I will say the Steelers have some injury issues. Cam Hayward is out. Deontay Johnson is out. So they're missing 2 key players for Monday night against the Browns. That's concerning, but also Deshaun Watson, you mentioned earlier, the Browns won. Deshaun Watson did enough, but he did not play well. Completed like 55% of passes, threw an interception. Going to be hard to continue to win games, especially by a wide margin if you're going to continue to get bad quarterback play by Deshaun Watson. So I'll take the Steelers in that one.
Love it.
Let's get to picks. Sterling, we crushed our picks in week 1. We would have combined 5-1 with our picks. Very close to a 6-0 sweep. The only pick that didn't hit was your favorite total bet of the week, Titans Saints over 41, did not hit. That was a defensive slugfest. So just to recap how our picks did last week, we both hit our best spread bet of the week. I hit Eagles -4, got a little sketchy at the end there, but it cashes. You hit Ravens -10 pretty easily. Favorite total bet, I hit mine, Panthers Falcons under 39.5. Your over bet with Titans Saints was the only loser for us this past week. But then most importantly, we both hit our upset picks. Rams 2-1 crushed the Seahawks, and then Dolphins beat the Chargers in the game of the week.
It's like we sometimes know what we're doing.
Yes.
It makes it so much fun.
Knock on wood.
Why didn't I use these bets when I was betting?
Should have. So yeah, let's see if we can have a repeat performance with our best bets for week 2. So favorite spread bet, favorite total bet, and then upset pick of the week. I know you're interviewing Dan Marino before this, so I don't know if you have picks ready, Sterling. I might be putting you on the spot. I'll give out my favorite spread bet right away. It's the Ravens. Ravens plus 3.5. I think that's a no-brainer right now based on how the Bengals played in week 1. Based on it seems like Joe Burrow needs some time to warm up. And also, Bengals could be missing a guy on defense by the name of Jesse Bates, a guy who is wearing a version of the helmet I have behind me, a guy who got 2 interceptions in his debut with his new team. Keep an eye out for that Bengals secondary. Could hurt them a little bit in this game. So 3.5 points in an AFC North matchup here. I love the Ravens plus 3.5. So that's my favorite spread bet. Do you have a favorite spread bet for us?
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with, well, that was actually my favorite, but I'm not going to double down because I feel like that's just,
yes,
it's uncouth. Okay.
Yes,
I'm a gentleman and I am not going to copy you, Ian. I'm actually going to go with the Bears on the road.
Oh,
Tampa Bay is favored by 3. Now,
yes.
I know I said this whole thing about Justin Fields and I don't know how much I believe in him.
Yes.
I don't think Tampa Bay is a good team at all. 3-point favorites at home, I just do not see it. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'll take the Bears with the 3 points on the road.
Yeah, I agree with you, actually. I actually like the Bears in this game as well. Now, I bet on the Buccaneers last week, and I'm actually higher on the Buccaneers than I think most people are. But still, even though the Buccaneers won that game, they gained only 3.6 yards per play on offense, gave up 5.9 yards per play on defense. That's a net yards per play of minus 2.3, one of the worst marks in the NFL in week 1, despite finding a way to win. Bears not good either, minus 1.1, but that's not nearly as bad as minus 2.3 when it comes to net yards per play. So getting 3 points, and generally I generally follow a rule that when 2 trash teams play against each other, if one team is getting a field goal worth of points or more, I will take the team that's getting a field goal or more. So that's the Bears. So I do actually like that pick. Let's move on to our favorite total bet of the week. Kind of an interesting game, even though both teams stink, and that's the Colts-Texans, but interesting because it is a battle of rookie quarterbacks between CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson. I actually love the over. Total set at 40 for that one. I like the over. Both teams played against tough defenses in week 1. Obviously, the Colts had to go up against the Jaguars. Texans had to go up against the Ravens. Now they both get much easier matchups. So even though neither offense looked great, Texans only scored 9 points against the Ravens. I think we might get a little bit of a quarterback duel here between the 2 rookies. I expect them both to take a step forward in week 2. Relatively low total at 40. It's a toilet bowl of a game, so I just want to sit back and root for points. So I'll take the over 40 between Colts and Texans.
I'm going to stick with the Bears and Bucks with the under 41.5.
Doubling up.
Yeah, I'm doubling down. Okay, 41.5? No. Give me the under. Okay, give me the under. I think we're seeing a 2017 Bears win. I'm not seeing a ton in this game to make me believe that, oh yeah, this is going to be a high scoring affair. I like the under in this one.
All right, let's do upset of the week next. Like I said, last week we both hit this. I had Rams over Seahawks. You had Dolphins over Chargers. I'm going Steelers to beat the Browns this one. Not a huge upset. They're only a 2-point underdog, but a lot of small spreads generally in the NFL. Really, the only big lines are Bills over Raiders, and I'm not going to take Raiders over Bills as 8-point underdogs or 8.5-point underdogs, and then Rams over 49ers. I'm not going to take the Rams to beat the 49ers. So I will take the Steelers to upset the Browns on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I actually like that one a lot. I think it's a really good pick right there. I like the Ravens on the road against the Bengals. I think the Bengals fall to 0-2. Again, I think the Bengals are a good team. They're going to be fine. But early on in the season, I would take the 3.5 points in a heartbeat. And I actually like the Ravens winning outright in Cincy against the Bengals.
Yeah, I consider taking that one as well, but I think it's going to be a close game. So I like it even more, 3.5 points. But yeah, that's a solid upset pick there as well.
Yeah.
Survivor, a little head-to-head Survivor pool that we're doing here. We both survived. You barely did, though. I don't know if you were paying attention.
Oh, yes. The Commanders made me so nervous. I was sweating bullets.
Yes. So you can no longer use the Commanders. I picked the Ravens. That was kind of an easy one to advance. Who is your Survivor pick for week 2?
This is tough for me. I'm using the Bills. I didn't want to use the Bills. I really didn't. But when I see they're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders are 2 scoops of ass, I had to do it.
Want to know Raiders?
They sure are. They beat the
actually AFC West leading Raiders.
AFC West. Hang that banner, baby.
Yeah,
hang that banner. But yeah, I like the Bills in this one, and I think this is a game where they keep them at an arm's length away. Now it's the NFL. Parity is the name of the game, so I'm sure I will be wrong here. It's going to be close, and I'll be sweating bullets yet again. But I do like the Bills to beat the Raiders.
I was thinking about going. And I'm still for my actual like big survivor pools that I'm in. I'm deciding between the Bills and this other team. And for the show, because you took the Bills, I'll go the other team for our head-to-head matchup, so we're not on the same side. To add in some excitement here, I'm actually going to take the Giants over the Cardinals as my survivor pick.
Ooh, I like it.
Giants are a team that there's not many chances this season that I'm going to want to back them. So if I'm ever going to use the Giants all season in Survivor, now's as good of a time as any, and they got to bounce back after that terrible performance on Sunday night. And we talked about this earlier when Mike was on the show. I think that game was just an example of every single thing that could have possibly gone wrong for the Giants went wrong. Are they going to have as good of a record as they had last year? Probably not, but they're not as bad as they looked when they lost 40-0 to the Dallas Cowboys. So now they play the Cardinals, the worst team in the NFL. They got to have a little chip on their shoulder. I'm going to take the Giants. I'm going to use them up here early in the season.
That's a good one. That was the other team I was deciding between, because the Cardinals are just their cheeks, man. And I am still pretty high on the Giants. I know that game from Daniel Jones was an absolute utter disaster. I mean, it looked like a guy who's never thrown a football before in his life. But let's be real, the pass rush of the Cardinals ain't doing what the Cowboys did. So
yeah,
I think you and I are a little bit in agreement here.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are probably going to be two of the more popular picks in survivor pools this week. Obviously, the 49ers over the Rams is another option, big favorite. But based on how the Rams played last week, I have no interest taking them. And pretty much now that the Jets will be starting Zach Wilson, I guess the Cowboys would be a viable option, 7.5 point favorite to the Jets. But
Stacy's mom has got it going on, baby. Fountains of Wayne. Give me Zach Wilson all day. I wanted so bad Zach Wilson to, in overtime, just throw an absolute rifle, an absolute beautiful touchdown to beat Josh Allen. That would have been the ultimate. Do you have this on your bingo card? Go home, NFL. You're drunk week 1.
So we've already talked about the Jets, obviously, with Mike earlier in the show, but Sterling, I do want to get your quick thoughts. It sounds like you want them to ride with Zach Wilson, or would you rather them try to pick someone up? Maybe someone by the name of Matt Ryan, maybe someone by the name of Phillip Rivers, maybe Mike brought it up, maybe trading for someone like Kyler Murray or Jameis Winston. If you were the general manager of the Jets, what do you do?
Hey, I ride it out, baby. I ride it out. I get it. Zach Wilson's not a great quarterback, but he might be better than Matt Ryan at this point. Maybe he's more mobile behind that. I mean, the offensive line's so bad. You have to have a semi-mobile quarterback. I'm not trying to be making jokes here, but Matt Ryan's a stat sheet.
You're right. Mike brought up the same point.
Yeah, you have to be semi-mobile. Aaron Rodgers isn't a running quarterback, but he's mobile, pocket awareness. I do think Zach Wilson, maybe Jameis Winston, because he's a little bit more mobile, but he doesn't really run either. Honestly, you got to take that into account. And so all things being considered, I personally would probably ride with Zach Wilson.
There you have it. I love that the NFL is back. We already got a million storylines to watch and follow along. I'm already excited for week 2. I can't wait. Starts Thursday night, Vikings and Eagles. Thank you all so much for watching the show. Please like this video on YouTube. Subscribe to Stacking the Box YouTube channel. If you're listening to the audio version of this, please rate and review this podcast. And also, if you're listening to the audio version of this, you are next up. Just hang around because you're going to hear the audio of Sterling's interview with Dan Marino from earlier today. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check out Stacking the Box YouTube channel, and the video version of that interview will be up later today. So if you're watching this later on Tuesday, it might already be up. So go check it out there on the Stacking the Box YouTube channel. Sterling, any final thoughts?
I will say Aaron Rodgers tore his Achilles. I feel for Rodgers, but I also brought up to Dan Marino. Dan Marino tore his Achilles in 1993.
Oh.
Okay. So he tore his in 1993. And then in 94, he actually ended up winning Comeback Player of the Year. He still went on to win, a lot more games, have a hell of a finish to his career. So I kind of brought up the fact of what was that like for Dan? What should Aaron Rodgers expect? The mental side of this as well. I like Marino's answers and thoughts on this. So make sure you check that out because I thought that was pretty fascinating and just bad timing for Rodgers, but good time to get thoughts from Marino on this.
For sure. Yeah, great call out. So if you're watching this on YouTube, check out the video version of that interview. And if you're listening to the audio version of this, you're going to hear it here in 15 seconds. And also, if you want to tail our picks or maybe fade our picks, maybe you think we're going to stink this week after going 5-1 last week, download DraftKings, use the code STB, and when you bet $5 in any sports, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code STB. Thank you all so much for watching. Tune in tomorrow for the college football edition of the show with Reed and Cody. And Sterling and I will talk to you all next week.